Salutation to the Muslim Ummah. I hope the fast is so far so good. Well, it's Wednesday night and here I am. I guess you know what we do here on Wednesday nights, bringing you the news with the extra touch. And the night is truly extra. The Federal Executive Council kickstarts the bulletin with approvals for engagements in agriculture, infrastructure, water and power sectors. Politics is still in the air with election litigations, opposition antics and moves to lead the 9th National Assembly. We have all stories on all these. Today is International Family Day. Wait till you hear what we have to say about that. Plus, Zainab Aliyu meets Governor Abdullahi Ganduje. I know you know Zainab Aliyu, or don't you? Well, if you don't, watch out. We have stories on security, business, transportation, science and technology, and of course, the big brother right of Nigeria on the African continent. Okay, that's enough for the teaser. Let's get to the nitty-gritty. I am Fatima Abbas Hassan, and this is News Extra. The Federal Executive Council has approved 9.4 billion naira for the purchase of assorted grains towards reinforcing the nation's grains reserve. The Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Audu Obi, announced this at a media briefing after the meeting of the council presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. State House correspondent Adam Musambo reports that approvals were also granted for the engagement of infrastructure, water, and the power sector.
Taking a cue from international best practice of acquiring at least 2 to 3% of all grains grown at the end of harvest, the Federal Executive Council approved the purchase of 61,000 tons of maize, millet, and sorghum for storage in the grain silos.
If there's an emergency anywhere in the country, or there's a shortage or a flood and there is no food, we can draw from what we have in the silos and distribute to needy areas of the country.
The measure, the minister said, is also in furtherance of the government's policy of using what is produced locally, through which in the last 3.5 years, $21 billion was saved on imports. For the Ministry of Water Resources, 4 memos were approved, including the need to exploit the potentials of Gurara 2 hydropower project to generate 360 megawatts of power.
Council approved for us to take this project to FOCAC for possible financing by the China Exim Bank at the cost of about $1 billion. The second memo was for the need to complete Inkari Dam in Akwa Ibom State, and this was approved about 5.7 billion naira.
The ministry also secured the council's approval to appoint consultants to supervise works towards the completion of the Gari irrigation project for Kano and Jigawa states abandoned for 17 years, as well as the Ile-Ife Dam in Osun State started in 2004.
The council approved the RETC in the sum of about 10.4 billion naira or thereabout. So we hope with the approval, the contractor will resume on site and work will be continued with the hope that it will be finished in 24 months.
On his part, the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, announced the approval of the council for the construction of an interchange as well as pedestrian bridge at Abaji in the FCT at 7.1 billion naira to address the perennial problem of accidents in the area.
The second memorandum was for the procurement of 200,217 meters by Yola Electricity Distribution Company under the Meter Asset Provider Scheme for consumers under their franchise, which covers Adamawa, Borno, Taraba, and Yobe states. The cost of those meters is 11.208 billion naira.
The project, the minister said, is to be funded through what he called the judgment sum in respect of an old meter supply dispute since 2003, now domiciled in the bank. And as consumers pay for the meters as supplied, the money goes back into their account. Yola Distribution Company is now under the management of the federal government, having been surrendered by original holders. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has accepted the invitation of King Salman bin Abdulaziz, the ruler of Saudi Arabia and custodian of the two holy mosques, to perform the Umrah, which is the lesser Hajj in the kingdom. A statement signed by the Senior Special Assistant to the President of Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, indicates that the President, accompanied by close personal aides, will embark on the journey on Thursday, the 16th of May. He is expected back in the country on Tuesday, the 21st of May. The Presidential Election Petition Tribunal is now to hear a formal application on whether President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Zainab Bulkachua, should recuse herself of the chairmanship of the tribunal. The motion is to be taken on Wednesday, the 22nd of May. This is part of the outcome of the day's sitting at the Court of Appeal. Judiciary correspondent Femi Okewo has the details.
The issue of whether the President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Zainab Bulkachua, should recuse herself from the headship of the panel of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal is now to be treated formally. It was once an issue which was treated in the public domain, and a letter to that effect written by the PDP. Now the court is to hear a formal application to that effect. The day's sitting had started with lead counsel to the People's Democratic Party, Dr. Levi Uzoku SAN, requesting for an audience in chambers between chairman of the panel, Justice Zainab Bulkachua, and the four other justices, along with two counsel each representing President Muhammadu Buhari, the All Progressives Congress, and INEC. It was on return from the closed-door meeting that chairman of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal announced that the meeting was related to a letter which the PDP chairman, Uche Secondus, had written for her to stand down as the chairman of the tribunal. She said counsel to the petitioners was at liberty to move the motion in open court so it could form part of the records of proceedings. All the parties to the petition were not opposed to the application being moved in court. The motion will now be heard on the 22nd. In Abuja, Femi Okeowo, NTA News.
The federal government has strongly decried what it calls the increasingly unpatriotic and desperate opposition politics being played by the PDP and its presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, while briefing journalists on the disturbing trend, warns that such dead-end opposition could be toxic for the nation's democracy if left unchecked. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has more on that.
Alhaji Lai Mohammed says never in the history of politics in Nigeria has an opposition party exhibited the kind of desperate tactics being deployed by the PDP and its flag bearer since losing the 2019 presidential election to President Muhammadu Buhari and the governing APC.
Either by themselves or via their proxies, the PDP and its presidential candidate are doing everything possible to sabotage the Buhari administration, generally overheat the polity, and make Nigeria seemingly ungovernable, especially through their public utterances and their poorly thought out press releases.
The minister said for those who may be quick to accuse the government of crying wolf, the pre-election statement credited to the former vice president suggesting that unless Nigerians vote out the governing APC, killings by herdsmen will continue and ultimately spark a series of ethno-religious crises that will be irreversible is looking more like a Freudian slip than anything else.
Also, in recent times, the PDP has taken its desperation to a new low by attacking the judiciary, an action many see as indicating a reversal of the party's hitherto self-assured stance that it has a solid case against the election of the president. And either by coincidence or orchestration, a faceless group emerges from nowhere calling for an overthrow of a democratically elected government, a totally egregious act of treason.
He said for acclaimed Democrats, there are acceptable channels of seeking redress after an election defeat rather than allowing desperation to becloud their sense of propriety to the extent of associating with anti-democratic forces.
Even President Muhammadu Buhari himself went to court 3 times to challenge election results. What is not acceptable is to either resort to self-help after an election defeat or to embark on a journey of subterfuge and sabotage while also mounting a legal challenge or pretending to do so. Worse still, painting the judiciary bad for whatever reason is anti-democratic and unconscionable.
Alhaji Lai Muhammad urges the main opposition party to, amongst others, desist from overheating the polity and stop beating the drums of war, but concentrate on the legal challenge by its candidate against the election of President Muhammadu Buhari, if indeed they have any faith in the country's judiciary. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The attendant effects of flooding and windstorm is usually severe in the event of its occurrence. But the aftermath of the disaster and resultant outbreak of epidemics and other forms of diseases is considered terrifying. The recent flood disaster and windstorm in Malawi, Mozambique, and Zimbabwe attracted global attention due to its severity and spread of diseases in the affected areas. Ilyasu Ali Akubu reports that Nigeria joins the League of Supporters as Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyema leads a delegation to the affected countries with donations.
Available records indicate that Mozambique suffered severely with more than 300,000 houses and 3,600 schools, as well as 93 health centers destroyed, while 16,200 persons were said to have been injured and 45,000 students were out of school. Malawi, on the other hand, recorded 60 deaths, while more than 800,000 people were affected by the disaster. The federal government donation of $500,000 each to the 3 affected countries and tons of essential drugs, vaccines and mosquito nets to Mozambique, Malawi and Zimbabwe came handy as the victims struggle with the outbreak of epidemics.
So this is the true spirit of African brotherness.
Our country being someone in charge of disaster management, one could imagine the devastating nature of such kind of disasters. And NEMA was responsible in organizing all this support.
Officials of the affected countries thank President Muhammadu Buhari for the big brother role aimed at cushioning the effects of the menace.
It is so gratifying to note that Nigeria has come to our rescue at this stage.
Today we have seen that our brothers from Nigeria have come to donate mainly medical equipment and medical trucks. We want to sincerely thank them.
Though the water has since receded from the affected areas, they are, however, still not habitable. From Maputo, capital city of Mozambique, Ilyasu Ali Akubu, NTA News.
In the meantime, Zimbabwean president has described the long brotherly relationship with Nigeria as beneficial and rewarding. The president was speaking when he received the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, on a sympathy visit to the government and people of Zimbabwe on the recent flood that hit the country. Ilyasu Ali Akubu now completes the report.
Zimbabwe, is one of the 3 southern African countries recently affected by flood that claimed many lives and displaced hundreds of people, as well as destroyed public infrastructure. President Mnangagwa thanked President Buhari for the zealand commitment in unifying the African region. He said though the devastating effects of the flood was severe on the victims, he expressed gratitude for the donation.
This demonstrates to the people of Zimbabwe that Nigeria, you remember, some of you may be young, but some years back Nigeria was part of the frontline states during the liberation struggle. And this is demonstrative of that history of friendship and support from Nigeria.
And it was a manifestation of the fraternity and solidarity between our 2 countries and our 2 peoples. And I must say that we were overwhelmed by the warmth of the reception of His Excellency.
20 tons of drug, supplements, vaccines and mosquito nets and a cash donation of $500,000 were presented to the Zimbabwean government for the upkeep of the victims. From Harare in Zimbabwe, Ilyasu Aliaku, NTA News.
Many thanks, Ilyasu. It's now time for our first commercial break. News Extra will continue in just a moment. Join us again.
My father is a palm wine tapper. Before him, his father was a palm wine tapper. Perhaps his own father was a palm wine tapper as well.
He was. His name was Aremu Elemu.
Take me away. This is one of our neighbors where I live and go to school. My mother has sold Bolly and Ekpa since I was born. So did her mom. I have a brother who hasn't been the same since the day he saw his favorite artist play live. And me, I'm going to be a big filmmaker soon. I get enough practice with the data my uncle gets from Glow.
Data is oxygen. Enjoy the best data deal in town. Buy your SIM, dial *777#. Your #1 4G network nationwide.
The clock is ticking. It's the signal for the inauguration of the 16th President of Nigeria and 5th President in the 4th Nigerian Republic.
Nigerians are set to mark the beginning of the 2nd term of Muhammadu Buhari as President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The first term saw the most massive critical infrastructural development, agricultural revolution, war against corruption, tackling insecurity, and unprecedented social investment programs. Our opportunity to keep moving our country on the path to a prosperous future. It's the next level for the Nigerian people. This is our time as Nigerians. Come, let us celebrate the next level with Muhammadu Buhari, President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria. Date, Wednesday, 29th May 2019. Venue, Eagle Square, Abuja. Time, 8 a.m. prompt. Roll out the drums. Come, let's celebrate.
Announcer Boss Gida Mustafa, Secretary to Government of the Federation and Chairman 2019 Presidential Inauguration Committee.
The National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, hereby notifies the public that consequent upon the issuance and public presentation of the Nigeria Data Protection Regulation on the 25th of January 2019, full implementation of the regulation commenced on the 25th of April 2019. The regulation seeks to safeguard the rights of Nigerians to data privacy. According to Section 6C of the NITDA Act of 2007, the agency is mandated to develop regulations for electronic governance and monitor the use of electronic data interchange and other forms of electronic communication transactions. The penalty for breaching this regulation include payment of the fine of up to 2% of annual gross revenue of the preceding year or the sum of 10 million naira, whichever is greater. This is in addition to any other liabilities prescribed by law. Need to urge all Nigerians to support this initiative as your right to privacy is fundamental. For comprehensive information on the Nigeria Data Protection Regulation, please visit our website, Signed Management.
It's Ramadan. It's okay to share what you love. Ramadan Kareem from Indomie. Indomie Super Pack now available at 85 Naira.
Munch it, what a tasty, crunchy feeling. Munch it, gotta munch it every day. Munch it, just give me the super snack. Munch it, oh irresistible. Munch it, makes me wanna say one munch, two munch, and stop munch. Munch it is here, irresistible. One munch, two munch, and stop munch.
Try a pack of Munch It snack at 50 Naira.
Management of the National Animal Production Institute, NAPRI, under the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Ahmadu Bello University, Shika, Zaria, cordially invites the general public to her 2019 NAPRI Open Day for the commissioning of projects and the opening ceremony of the National Dairy Training. Chairman of the occasion, Chief Audrogbe, Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development. Chief Host, Professor Ibrahim Garba, FMNGS, Vice Chancellor, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Host, Professor Clarence Lakmeni, Executive Director, NAPRI. Guest Speaker, His Excellency, Right Honorable Aminu Bello Masari, the Executive Governor of Katsina State. Projects to be commissioned include horse stable, irrigated paddocks, 3.5-kilometer road, dairy milking parlor, the NAPRI Earth Station, date Monday, 20th May 2019, time 9 a.m. Venue, NAPRI premises, Shika, Zaria. For inquiries, call 0806-551-9695. Aliyu Sule, Institute Secretary, Announcer.
I'm Jamila Loa. Welcome to My Good Diaries. I'll be bringing you amazing recipes from the north. It's something very playful that you and your kids during Ramadan, you can put your hands together and have fun making it in the kitchens. Cook the difference with Maggie this Ramadan.
The management of the Nigeria Television Authority (NTA), Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria (FRCN), and Voice of Nigeria cordially invites the general public to the 14th edition of the annual Ramadan lecture, which will inshallah hold on Saturday, 18th May 2019. The topic is Tolerance in Islam, to be delivered by Sheikh Muhammad Nuruddin Lemu, Director of Research and Training, Dawah Institute of Nigeria Islamic Education Trust, Mina, Niger State. The venue for the event is Lumana Multipurpose Hall, River Road, Jabi Road East, Ngorimi Jari, Kaduna by 9 a.m. Under the distinguished chairmanship of Lamido of Adamawa, His Royal Highness Muhammad Barkindo Aliyu Mustafa. The chief host is His Excellency Malam Nasr Ahmed El-Rufai, the Executive Governor of Kaduna State. Royal Father of the Day is His Royal Highness Alhaji Dr. Show Idris, CFR, Emir of Zezo. The host, Malam Yakubi Muhammad, Director General of Nigeria Television Authority, Malam Mansur Liman, Director General of Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, and Dosta Okechuku, Director General of Voice of Nigeria, Announcer Organizing Committee. You are welcome.
You're welcome back. We're glad to have you back with us on NTA News Extra tonight. And now we go to the National Assembly. Unemployment and poverty are Siamese twins, both social problems that exist side by side. The fight against one naturally checks the other. That is why, to further reduce poverty in Nigeria, the Senate has advised the federal government to declare an emergency on unemployment. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Onkwo has more on that.
Less than 29 days to the end of the 8th National Assembly, senators appear to be more punctual than in the last few months. Prominent among the motions that was considered by the Senate is the call for the federal government to create more proposed social safety nets with 20% of looted funds channeled to it, and for the allocation of 26% of annual budget to education. Senator Chukwuka Utazi moved the motion.
And to take other urgent measures to stimulate production and other economic activities to engage young citizens of this country.
I believe out of every 10 phone calls you receive here as a parliamentarian, 8 is about people's personal problems.
Is that the poor man is very, very helpless. Even if you create opportunities for employment, you discover that the LR will first choose their own children first. What about those who don't have anybody?
I think the executive arm of government, through the social investment program, which we budget 500 billion every year, is also trying. I am sure that we have achieved something.
Senators believe a national policy on population control and the establishment of factories in each local government in Nigeria will provide more employment opportunities.
Of us who are here, communities contributed money for us to go to school. So I think that we cannot abandon that cultural attitude.
But unless this government and all governments have a population control policy, one, we cannot solve the problem.
And in our own case, I think over the years, we have come up with different plans, which actually we don't even implement.
We cannot address these issues by mayor coming to mention them on the floor of the House. It's not possible. What we need to do is to articulate a position, invite everybody to propose a solution to this problem.
The legislators considered a motion to encourage Nigerians to install carbon monoxide detectors in motor vehicles and houses to prevent health hazards associated with the substance, as moved by Senator Bolahon Dada.
A family of 6 in Igbo Etel community, a local government area of River State, lost their life to generators fumes.
The Nigerian Police Academy Establishment Bill has been passed by the Senate. The academy is already in existence without legal backing. Well, the Senate has also reconsidered and passed the Industrial Development Act Amendment Bill, which the President denied assent from the National Assembly. Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
The recovery of stolen assets in Nigeria has now been made easier following an amendment by the House of Representatives to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC Act. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that the lawmakers passed the bill at Wednesday's plenary.
To provide for quick recovery procedures for stolen assets.
The amendments, as highlighted in the bill, would make the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC more independent and effective in enforcement drive, more active in pursuit of cases, and equally build the capacity of personnel. The Act also seeks to ensure that the Commission is adequately funded, as well as improve its relations with foreign counterparts to build trust and enhance cooperation.
The question is that the bill be now read a third time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it.
In the meantime, the lawmakers have passed an act to establish the Nigeria Police Trust Fund, while the report submitted by the Chairman House Committee on Pensions, Representative Hassan Adamu on a bill for an act to establish the Defense Intelligence Agency Pensions Board was considered and adopted.
To handle pension matters for civilian personnel of the agency and for related matters therein.
The Chairman House Committee on Agricultural Production and Services, Mohammed Tahir Mungunu, also laid before the House a report on a bill to prohibit the killing and exportation of donkeys out of Nigeria in order to preserve the animal. The House, at the Committee of the Whole, made amendments to and adopted the report on a bill which seeks to eradicate age discrimination against job seekers in federal government agencies. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
The Senate leader, Ahmed Lawan, says ensuring supportive legislation to achieve the target of the APC-led administration remains the focus of his aspiration to the Senate President's seat and chairmanship of the National Assembly. This was his submission during an interaction with the media in Abuja. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu was there and now reports.
It was a gathering of senior media practitioners with some senators-elect for the ninth assembly who are supportive on the senator's ambition of becoming Senate President. The Senate leader said if elected as Senate President, he will ensure legislation that will be supportive of the federal government's effort to improve the country's security architecture.
The leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari has very noble and laudable programs and projects. And for us, in the National Assembly, in the Ninth Senate, we are going to support those kind of laudable and noble programs and projects for the benefit of Nigerians.
Ahmed Lawan also emphasized on the need for harmonious working relationship amongst the lawmakers, irrespective of party and other differences.
We intend to make a Senate that believes and remains focused on making Nigeria a better and better country.
The group assured commitment to coming up with laws that will have positive impact on all segments of Nigeria and speedy passage of budgets for smooth governance. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
And from Lafia, the Nasarawa state capital, is a story which says the incoming fourth civilian administration in that state is building synergy with the outgoing government to complete all projects ongoing across the state. Well, that's the good thing called continuity. From Lafia, Joshua Ojito reports that this assurance of continuity is coming on the heels of interface to ensure smooth handing over to the governor-elect. Abdullahi Soleh has that report.
Although the Transition Committee in Nasarawa State is working on comprehensive report of the 8-year stewardship of the Al-Makura administration, the interface between Governor Umaru Tanko Al-Makura and the governor-elect Abdullahi Soleh is to keep the incoming administration abreast with the level of work done so far on some of the critical projects. It is also to ensuring that none of the projects is abandoned.
By our system, we intend to have a handover that will be total and comprehensive. Not just things on paper.
What I have seen in this practical handover is something that I have not seen in so many other places. You know, when you talk about handover, most people actually just write and hand over papers to you. But in this case, I'm seeing most of what I've been told.
With the synergy to consolidate on the achievements recorded by the Al-Makura administration, stakeholders say the present government has laid a foundation for economic growth and development of the state. And with the focus of the incoming government to leverage on economic potentials of the state for industrialization and growth of small and medium-scale enterprises, there are prospects of sustainable development in the state. There are a number of projects at various levels of completion in parts of the state and the FCT belonging to the state government, with others already completed and inaugurated.
You know, every day I get more and more amazed with the government of Umaru Tanko Al-Makura for what he has done and what he is doing for Nasarawa State.
The Lafia Airport project is one of such, and with the prospects of opening the state to investors, both leaders are on the same page on the economic viability of the project.
In the next 2 weeks, the people of Nasarawa State, like many other states in the country, will usher in new administration. And the expectations are high amongst the people for good governance and sustainable development of the young state. In Lafia, Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
Thank you, Joshua. That was Governor Tanko Al-Makura there, interfacing with the incoming governor, Abdullahi Soleh. Moving on, the word family has come to encompass all kinds of groupings and associations, but it is generally accepted that the traditional family unit, which is the smallest component of the larger society, is the most important in shaping the society. That explains why families strive to inculcate moral values and norms to breed good members of the society. Perhaps it is with this in mind that the United Nations chose a day to be marked as Family Day. Rachel Shuaibu reports on the origin and significance of the day in this next report.
Families all over the world have transformed greatly over the past decades in terms of their structure and as a result of global trends and demographic changes. The United Nations still recognizes the family as the basic unit of the society. The celebration of the International Family Day, which started in 1995, provides an opportunity for people to reflect on the importance of families, societies and cultures around the world.
Family has been one of the most cherished organizations or human race, as the case may be, because without a family, the world cannot be the same.
Family means, number one, love, a place where people love each other in truth and in spirit. Because we know that the first family was instituted by God.
The International Day of Families provides an opportunity to promote awareness on issues relating to families and to increase knowledge of the social, economic and demographic processes affecting them, as well as values for a peaceful, loving and stable society.
It means a lot to me, you know, because in everything you do, you put your family first.
However, the values are gradually fading off. Going by the spate of crimes and criminality in the society, where did we miss it?
Family should be very careful in such a way that if anything happens to anyone, that name is very important because, quote and unquote, if Mr. A is from Mr. A's family and you do good, the glory of that doing good will be going to your family. If Mr. B is not doing well, the purpose of not doing that well will still go back to your family. And that is why family values a lot in our day-to-day activities.
The only way to bring family back to to restore family back, value back, is by parents training their children in the way of the law, with the fear of the law. If the parents fear the law and make sure the children to follow suit, because as I said, you cannot give what you don't have. Many parents who doesn't have family value, so there's nothing they can give to the children.
The International Day of Families is observed on the 15th of May every year. The theme for this year's celebration is Families and Climate Action, focus on SDG 13. In Abuja, Rachel Shaibu, NTA News.
And as Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark the International Day of Families, stakeholders have converged on Lagos to deliberate on effects of illegal migration on the family and the society at large, especially as the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund says 80% of commercial sex workers in Italy are young Nigerians. Michael Olalaye has that report.
This short video tells a story of human trafficking.
We have nothing left where we are coming from. That's why we have to put our life on the line.
It paints the picture of the psychological pains and trauma associated with traveling to an unknown destination in quest of greener pasture. This forum is, however, drawing an illustration from this short but emotional video to narrate the effects of illegal migration on families and the society. The Lagos State Commander of the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons explained that, aside creating a negative image for the country, most victims of trafficking usually return with various amens.
We are telling parents, don't traffic your children. In the past, you say, I can do anything. If you do that, we'll pick you up. You have a duty to live as a responsible member of the Nigerian society.
Although NAPTIP is strengthening strategies aimed at curbing the menace, this forum believes the family can also play a major role to address poverty, which is the bane of illegal migration.
The SDGs, the 17 goals, the main goal, number one, is no poverty. So it's a concern for everyone. It's a concern of the United Nations.
With our returning migrants, we ensure that family reunification is one of the most important factors or issues that we deal with.
The theme for this year's International Day of Families is Families and Climate Action. But this forum is more concerned about issues of migration and trafficking, which have disintegrated families, particularly in the West African sub-region.
We have to find a way of living as a family without exploiting those that should be under our care.
However, participants at the forum are of the view that while migration is natural, it should be done within the ambit of the law. In Lagos, Michael Olaleye, NT News.
Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje has approved the sum of 3 million naira each to Zainab Habibu Aliyu and Abubakar Ibrahim Liman, the two Kano State indigents who were recently released from Saudi Arabian detention for alleged smuggling of illicit drugs. Mansur Aliyu Hassan reports that the governor made the announcement when the chairman of the Nigeria Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri Erewa, formally presented the released victims to him in Kano.
Few days ago, family members, relatives and other well-wishers were here at the Malam Aminu Kano International Airport to witness the arrival of Zainab Habibu Aliyu and Abubakar Ibrahim Liman from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The story is different this time around, as the two released victims converge here to welcome representatives of the federal government and Chairman of the Nigeria Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabire Erewa, for their formal presentation to Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje. Abike Dabire Erewa said the victims were rescued based on the federal government's commitment at protecting its innocent citizens and pledged resolve to prosecute the suspected drug syndicates.
I thank Mr. President for his prompt intervention. I thank our consul in Saudi Arabia for ensuring that everything went well. Of course, thank His Excellency for his generous gesture to them. But one thing is very imperative. Those who committed that crime must be punished.
Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, who described the federal government's rescue as remarkable, said President Muhammadu Buhari's intervention gave hold to all, irrespective of economic status.
When we learned that there was a foul game, and Mr. President quickly went into action, and today we are having these two individuals free. We have to thank Mr. President.
He noted that the 3 million naira donation to each of the released victims is a token to cushion their ordeal. Zainab Habibu Aliyu and Abubakar Ibrahim Liman expressed delight over the president's benevolence, which is an indication of resilience to better the lives of Nigerians.
I'm so happy, alhamdulillah for what happened this evening.
The chairman of the newly established Nigeria Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabire Erewa, assured Nigerians that the Buhari-led administration will continue to do its best in restoring the image of Nigerians in the eyes of the world. In Kano, Mansur Aliyu Hassan, NTA News.
Time now to take another short break. There will be more when we return after the break. Stay with us.
Data. We can't live without it. Share it. Sell with it. Borrow it. Up here, calm down, breathe. Celebrate with it. Breathe easy. Data is oxygen. Glow 4G, the new speed of life. Your #1 4G network nationwide. The very best from Glow, the grandmasters of data.
Can your milk do this?
Can your milk do this? Mine can.
With Hollandia evaporated milk, your ice cream, custards, and variations of beverages taste pleasantly different. Hollandia evaporated milk. Life tastes different.
From the House of Chi.
It's Ramadan. It's okay to share what you love. Ramadan Kareem from Indomie. Indomie Super Pack now available at 85 Naira.
Activate your life, be who you want to be. Yeah, yeah. Time to get active. Yes, the time is now. Now, now, now. Come on, get active. Oh, yeah. Yes, you can do it if you try.
Start an active life with the power of vegetables and fruits. Chivita Active. Be active. Do more.
What is it that transforms the economies of the world? More than a nation's natural resources, it is about the quality of its people. The UAE has largely transitioned from an oil-driven economy into one that is knowledge-based. And by developing their human capital, others who have little or no natural resources have become global leaders in technology and innovation. We can also do the same. Combining modern skills with entrepreneurship development will give rise to enterprises which can increase the demand and capacity for skilled labor. Our mission at the Industrial Training Fund is to provide the knowledge and skills that can meet this demand, in recognition that this combination is the global currency of the 21st century economies. And so for us, this is what it's all about.
I thought leaving the country was the best decision for me and my future.
I left for a better life.
We were picked up by immigration officials and sent to a detention camp.
I spent 8 months in the detention camp.
There was no food, no water.
I saw people being beaten like animals.
Some women were raped. Some women were sold as slaves.
I thought I would never see my loved ones again.
I have made the biggest mistake of my life.
I have wasted all my savings.
I have to start all over again.
Migration is a human phenomenon which cannot be stopped. But if we choose to migrate, we advocate that it should be done in a safe, orderly, regular, and dignified way, and not in a dangerous and tortuous manner.
This message is brought to you by the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons.
Thank you for joining us. This is still NTA News Extra on the network service of the NTA. Now, a first in the history of Nigeria's Fourth Republic, the request for the reappointment of Godwin Emefiele as the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria comes 44 years after Clement Isong served 2 terms from 1967 to 1975. Well, as far as the years are apart, so are the developments and challenges to holding such a position. National Assembly correspondent Omojola reports that even as he is being screened for another 5 years in office, the governor of the central bank is optimistic of a brighter future for Nigeria's monetary subsector under his watch.
Described as the fastest request in legislative executive engagement in the 8th National Assembly so far by the executive liaison to the Senate, Senator Ita Enang, the screening session of CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele recorded more accolades for his achievements than the anticipated interrogations. They, however, tasked him to do more.
We have representation of the whole regions. And it's always very, very difficult to get that. And even senior colleague can attest to that what is like. So I see that as a very, very empowering skill. I wish you well. I pray for you for God to continue to guide you.
I advise you to learn to hurt your friends than to do things that are wrong. That will preserve you, preserve your dignity for your children, your grandchildren, and generations to come.
The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria intimated the committee on the various successful interventions in agriculture and the real sector to stabilize Nigeria's macroeconomy in the last 5 years, but admitted that more needs to be done to develop Nigeria's economy.
From our side in the monetary policy, we will do everything that is possible to ensure that with the mandate that is vested on us, that we will push this country forward. And I'm not saying that it's that simple, but I'm also saying it is difficult, but we will do our best.
Emefiele, who is proud of the achievement of the Apex Bank, gave credit to President Muhammadu Buhari, who leads and initiates the processes, and assured the legislators that his team will do more for sustainable development of Nigeria. From the National Assembly, Omotola Omojola, NTA News.
And we now join our Lagos Network studio live, where Abolade Salami is standing by with more on business news. Abolade.
Thank you, Fatima. Good evening and welcome to the business news segment. For Nigeria to compete favorably in the world of doing business and grow its macroeconomic sector, stakeholders and the business community have advocated technological advancements. President, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Obatunde Rowashe, while enumerating the economic implication and the fourth industrial revolution, says The use of robots, biotechnology, and artificial intelligence in developed countries has enhanced ease of doing business, hence the need for Nigeria to adopt the process.
Of the importance of information technology, which is the way now that everybody is talking about it. You are talking about artificial intelligence. We want to look at where we are. What are those things that are inhibiting our achieving our potentials, where we should be, and what do we need to do?
So we are trying to bring to fore the key aspects of the fourth industrial revolution, which a lot of us Nigerians hear about most, but have not really seen it practiced as we have them in other parts of the world. For example, the whole area of artificial intelligence and how it has redefined industry and even domestic life. It's not yet felt in Nigeria, but it's now live in many parts of the world. So we want to bring this to the fore too.
And now let's talk April inflation figures. Inflation figures released by the National Bureau of Statistics show that Consumer Price Index, which measures inflation, increased by 11.37% year-on-year in April, against the 11.25% recorded in the same year. According to the figures, Composite Food Index rose by 13.70% in April, compared to the 13.45% in March. The NBS says the percentage change in the average composite CPI for the 12-month period ending April over the average of the CPI for the previous 12-month period was 11.31%. Away from inflation figures now to the equities market. Sell-off pressures continued to drag performance in the Nigeria's equities market down, with the all-share index depreciating by 0.48% midweek. Here are details of today's trading.
Nigeria Capital Market has sustained its rally for a third-day trading session as NSE All-Share Index closed below the 29,000 mark, with volume of shares put at 176 million, valued at 2.07 billion naira, which exchanged hands in 3,294 deals, and a market capitalization of 10.6 trillion naira. UACN, Dangote Sugar, and UCAP closed in the green, as Fort Oil, CCNN, and Dangote Flour finished in the red line. On sectoral performance, all the sectors at the close of midweek trading finished in the red. Most hit is the NSE Industrial, shedding 2.31%, followed by the insurance sector, losing 1.01%, while NSE Consumer Goods, NSE Banking, and NSE Oil and Gas also declined in figures, depreciating by 0.07%, 0.74%, and 1.00%. And that's it on stock market reports.
And that's a wrap on Business News segment. The news continues with Fatima in Abuja. Good evening.
Many thanks. And moving on, the producer of News Extra once told the story of how he had to jump out of a chartered air-conditioned taxi at Maryland to perch on a commercial motorcycle around 1 p.m. just so he wouldn't miss his 2 o'clock flight to Abuja. Now that's the story about traffic congestion, or traffic jam as it is popularly called, in Lagos. In fact, a recent study lists Lagos among the top 5 African cities with the worst traffic congestion, indicating that at least 3 of every 10 years spent in Lagos is lost to traffic. Oine Kalioka, in this special report, examines this survey and how the impact of rail development will address the traffic challenge. We're sorry about that. We'll get to that story when it's ready. Now, moving on, Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode has inaugurated the newly constructed Ilaje Road and Bariga Waterfront Jetty in Bariga, reiterating that government will do everything within its power to harness the potentials of water transport for the overall benefit of residents in the state. Nosa Usula has the details.
Waterfront Jetty is an initiative of the Governor Ambode-led administration to further scale up the integrated transportation system of the state. The project is aimed at ensuring seamless connectivity within the state. Alluding to the fact that water transportation had been proven worldwide to be an effective and efficient transport system, the governor said despite its potentials, the sector had remained largely underdeveloped, just accounting for less than 1% of the overall traffic in the state. A development, he said, necessitated the massive investments and reforms of his administration in the sector.
The Bariga Jetty will serve as a terminal where people in this part of our state can access ferry services and easily get to other jetties at Ikorodu, Marina, Falomo and Badore in Ajah. This jetty has a 150-car parking lot where people can park their cars comfortably and get on a ferry, taking them to other parts of the state.
General Manager of the Lagos State Waterways Authority, Oluwadamilola Emmanuel, and Chief Executive Officer, Lagos Ferry Services, Kalejaye Paul, commended Governor Ambode for his unparalleled commitment and support towards upgrading, construction, and equipping of waterways infrastructure in the state.
If you want to appreciate the beauty of Lagos, go on a water regatta, go on a water cruise. Then you can see how beautiful Lagos is.
In the Ekpe axis, in the Ajah axis, and even in the Ikorodu axis, where they're doing a lot of renovation of jetties there as well.
The governor also unveiled 6 new world-class ferries in Lagos, Nusa, Osula, NTA News.
It's back to our earlier story in which we told you that the producer of News Extra once told the story of how he had to jump out of a chartered air-conditioned taxi at Maryland to perch on a commercial motorcycle around 1 p.m. just so he wouldn't miss his 2 o'clock flight to Abuja. Now that's the story about traffic congestion, or traffic jam as it is popularly called in Lagos. And a survey lists Lagos among the top 5 African cities with the worst traffic congestion, indicating that at least 3 of every 10 years spent in Lagos is lost to traffic. Oyine Kalu Oka, in this special report, examines this survey and how the impact of rail development will address the traffic challenge.
It is 4:30 in the morning and the traffic is already building despite the drizzling. Street preacher, roadside food vendor, getting set for the day. One can imagine what it takes to get to work in Lagos if the traffic can be this heavy at the early hour of the day. 26-year-old Charity Rini, a graduate of food technology, has been living in Lagos for the past 10 years. Commuting to work from Agege to Lagos Island, she says, is a Herculean task. Getting up by 4 o'clock in the morning, walking to the bus stop, and sitting in traffic for hours is not a pleasant experience, she says.
It has been stressful all through. Every day, waking up very early, going to work, coming back is another stress itself.
A survey reveals that Lagos residents waste 3 of 10 years in traffic. It therefore means that residents of Lagos spend an average of 7 hours, 20 minutes in traffic daily.
The natural Lagos traffic, so traffic is inevitable. We would always have traffic.
We have to just join them. If you cannot be them, you join them.
It's a tradition in Lagos that you have to cope with. Yeah, so it's been nice, it's been good.
This situation is in almost all parts of Lagos. A visit to Oshodi reveals more about this challenge.
This is Oshodi, one of the busiest places in Lagos. The first thing that hits you when you get out of the bus is the rush. There is an undertone of survival that cannot be ignored in this place.
It is a life of adventure in Oshodi, with vehicular and human traffic. From the pepper seller to other traders, it is survival of the fittest. And for John and his brother, selling beans cake known as Akara business start by 3 o'clock in the morning. And this requires leaving home very early.
We live in my two. Around that morning, we do enter motor because there's one bus that used to come out around that 3 o'clock. So we enter from my two to Oshodi.
The traffic congestion is taking a heavy toll on the health of road users and the economy of the nation.
Man, it's killing me. It's not easy, you know.
Sometimes, even if you don't have much to do in the office, the traffic itself makes you tired.
Even though Lagos state government is putting up measures to tackle the situation, traffic in Lagos still persists. With most workers in Lagos living in neighboring states, an alternative means of transportation many say is the solution, as federal government intensifies efforts to complete the Lagos-Ibadan rail line.
The impact on the long run will be huge because it will begin to bring government back to taking ownership of the transportation space.
As the Lagos traffic congestion continues to persist, Lagosians are positive that things will soon turn for the better under the present administration. As they say, Eko Onibaje, meaning Lagos will not spoil. Oyinaya Kaloka, NTA News.
Many thanks, Oyinaya. Now, I guess you know where to go if you want to engage in the export-import business. The ports, right? Of course, ports are highly important in the economic growth of any nation, but presently, seaports suffer due to congestion and pressure, understandably because they are seen as the most dependable mode of international trade. Do we have options? Yes, inland ports, and that's what guests on Good Morning Nigeria explored. The various advantages of having inland ports and what it means for the development of the country. Abdul Karim Mohammed Zurmi takes it up from here.
The Kaduna Inland Port has brought hope to the import-export business, making movements of goods and services a lot less stressful, thereby easing the burden off Nigeria's congested seaports. Experts say it promises to increase job opportunities, generate revenue, and offer a safer alternative to transportation of goods brought into the country. It also means the safety of those who are required to safeguard goods while in transit will increase exponentially.
Now, the packaging factories are also setting up around Kaduna. Hopefully, with the increasing activity of these hubs, intermodal activity and infrastructure being connecting to it to increase its functions. Many of the Almajiris that are becoming bandits will now become skilled workers, will become stevedores. They will work in a professional setting, earn more money than banditry, where their life is short and brutal.
Guests believe support from railway is expected to help link communities while ensuring flexible drop-offs and pickups. In addition, containers will be tracked electronically to keep tabs and make sure all containers arrive at their destination.
Every container will be tracked, so there is no need for custom to be on the train or escort or anything. No, electronically, we are going to track this cargo from the time it's on the port of loading up to the time it reached Kaduna, so we'll be able to monitor that.
They were of the opinion that inland ports operations will add value to the national economy and that of key states in the country and facilitate solid material exports from Nigeria to the rest of the globe. In Abuja, Abdul Karim Mohammed Zurmi, NTA News.
It has been estimated that Nigeria might, in the next 5 years, suffer from shortage of donkeys, which serve as key to local agricultural activities, among other traditional economic values. Now, this was identified by the House of Representatives Committee on Agriculture during a public hearing on a bill for an act to prohibit the killing and exportation of donkeys. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu is here with that story.
Domestic donkey is a member of the horse family, even beyond African countries like Nigeria. Their operation is been for agricultural activities and transportation of goods by the rural populace, among other local advantages. However, the growing concern by stakeholders brought about the need of a legislation against the killing and exportation of the animal to some countries, including China, where their skin is used for traditional medicine.
Studies have shown that the requirement for donkey skin in China is about 4 million, but they can only access about 1 million in the whole of Africa.
We felt that if something drastic is not done, we may end up
losing the population of our donkeys in Nigeria.
Analysis was made on the history, status, ecological and economic values of the donkeys, which the world is now trying to preserve.
If the government is going to sensitize the Nigerians and explain to them the economic value chain, this morbid fear of extinction will be over.
And we're also calling on governments and local authorities to join efforts to support the affected communities, protecting them from the illegal trade and preventing the decimation of long donkeys through the legal trade.
The bill has a section that provides penalty of 10 years imprisonment for killing and eating donkey in Nigeria, among other sanctions. From the National Assembly, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
Dufil Primary Foods PLC, manufacturers of Indomie instant noodles, has begun the process of discovering, recognizing and celebrating bravery and skills in the Nigerian child. The management of the company made the announcement at a media briefing to formally commence activities for the 2019 Indomie Independence Day Award in Lagos. Ime Udori has the details.
Search for Heroic Children is born out of the desire to celebrate the Nigerian child whose little efforts sometimes go unnoticed and unrewarded. The idea is also to encourage uncommon heroes who have exhibited bravery and courage either through physical strength or intellect. The 2019 Indomie Independence Day Award, which is the 12th edition, organizers say has commenced the search for true stories from various locations across the country.
Nigerians are given the opportunity to actually see these stories, see the children involved, and actually celebrate and reward those exemplary acts.
The award is in 3 categories: physical, social and intellectual bravery for children of age bracket 15 and below promises to be bigger and better.
There is very little that is happening with the Nigerian child. So I think this initiative, the fact that this initiative celebrates him or her, I think is very, very exciting, and I feel very motivated and energized whenever I sit on this award.
The event, which has rewarded close to 40 Nigerian heroes since 2008, is the brand's way of identifying with the Nigerian child at independence. This explains why Indomie prides itself as a brand for the Nigerian child.
I would like to thank the media partners who have helped and supported us throughout the years and helped IIEA reach the heights it is at today. I would also like to thank the people of Nigeria for their trust and belief in our brand and this project.
The public is advised to send entries for the award, which comes up later in the year, to the company's website using the various social media platforms.
Many thanks. And News Extra will go on another short break. We'll bring you more reports when we return.
They are there at the crack of dawn. They are there busy preparing while we rise for our day.
They are there silently, guarding, waiting, listening, and watching. They are there ready in the sky above and the waters below, in the blistering heat of the day, in the dead of night, willing, indefatigable, determined in the defense of the sovereignty of our country. They are our first line of defense and our last. They who have paid the ultimate price in defending us. They are fathers and uncles. They are mothers and sisters and girlfriends and boyfriends. They are brothers and cousins and best friends and neighbors. They are classmates, colleagues, and citizens of this nation. They are our defenders and deserve our respect, our prayers, our thoughts. Nigeria, please support our armed forces.
Extraordinary could be right there in front of you, without you even knowing it. It's something unique, rich and rewarding, full of character, a bold expression of flavor like no other. Discover extraordinary flavor. Guinness, made of more.
Welcome back. The Nigeria Army definitely has a stake in the well-being of Nigerians, especially children. No wonder the Army High Command has issued a 3-month marching order to the theater commander of Operation Lafia Dole in Maiduguri to collaborate with the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency and immunize children in all remote areas in Borno State. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa reports that the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, gave the directive in Maiduguri, the state capital.
Borno State in northeast Nigeria, with vast ungoverned space, have suffered Boko Haram attacks for about 9 years. This trend has retarded socio-economic activities, making some remote areas in the war-torn state inaccessible. Consequently, those trapped in such areas don't have access to basic services. The military is, however, changing the narrative, and the Primary Healthcare Development Agency is taking advantage to further have access to 2,622 communities in such remote places. Children in these areas must be reached and immunized within 6-month benchmark for Nigeria to be possibly certified polio-free by the World Health Organization.
With your recommendations, we very much understood this. We rest assured we will continue to support the agency to assess those areas that are inaccessible actually before the rains start.
Even in the most difficult terrains, the Nigerian Army has been shoulder to shoulder with us in the trenches to ensure that all children get the vaccines that they need. As a result of this collaboration, we are now some 6 months away from being declared polio-free.
Provision of security to some government and non-governmental organizations is part of the non-kinetic efforts of the military in the ongoing counter-insurgency operations. From the headquarters of Operation Lafia Dole in Maiduguri, Borno State, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Now, the Nigerian Constitution guarantees it. The UN Charter guarantees it. Now it's heartwarming to see the military working to promote it. What am I talking about? Human rights. That's what the 3-division Nigerian Army in Jos is doing, inaugurating its Human Rights Office in Jos. Ben Mitu was there and will tell us more about it.
The idea of the Human Rights Office was conceived in 2006 to collate and investigate allegations of human rights abuses and act on their merits. This is based on the vision of ensuring a civil-friendly military institution that is conscious of when to deploy might and when to use diplomacy for the common good of all.
I am convinced that the alleged complaints of human rights violations will be reduced. I have no doubt that civil-military cooperation will run smoothly between the civil populace and military personnel. on internal security duties and other related military activities within the state and outside the state as well.
To the army authorities in the headquarters of the 3 division, it is an opportunity for the people of Plateau State to utilize when their rights are violated or abused.
I am therefore imploring the Plateau State citizens to make judicious use of this office here, in which issues that come up will be very objectively looked into.
The civilian component is also expected to respect the rights and privileges of officers and soldiers, who can also seek redress in the Human Rights Office when their rights are abused. In Jos, Ben Mitu, NTA News.
The Nigeria police says it has uncovered specific plots by some subversive elements masquerading as climate and environmental activists to commence massive and coordinated attacks on oil installations across the country, especially in the Niger Delta region and adjoining states. The Acting Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has therefore ordered commissioners of police nationwide and particularly in designated states to intensify their surveillance missions around oil facilities and other critical national infrastructure, while urging citizens to remain vigilant, report all suspicious characters to the law enforcement agencies, reaffirming his commitment to ensuring the adequate security of lives, the protection of national assets, and the protection of the sanctity of the country's political freedom and democracy. Nigeria's capacity in the space science and technology is not in doubt, considering the quantum leap recorded in various facets of space exploration and exploitation since joining the League of Satellite Owners. Though one of the 6 activity centers of the nation's space agency, the Center for Basic Space Science in Nsukka, the country has excelled in the designing, fabrication, and patenting of space technology instruments, products, and appropriate hard and softwares. In this report, science correspondent Kirian Omayo takes a look at giant strides at Nigeria's space agency.
Center for Basic Space Science is credited with outstanding performance, especially in research and development of products such as automated irrigation system configured to irrigate a farm using mobile telephone operating through a sensor, locally designed 3-axis thermometer for measuring inclination, horizontal force, and declination, an environmental pollution monitoring station which measures 13 atmospheric parameters for research and weather hazard monitoring, and infrared thermometer for remote body temperature measurement. The center also established weather stations operating through wireless telemetry for monitoring Nigeria's climate and for studying radio propagation in the country. At the inauguration of Astronomy Observatory Complex of the center, Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Bonaya Ono, expressed optimism in the readiness of Nigeria to design, fabricate, and launch her own satellite in the next few years. He urged the private sector to take advantage of the products from the nation's space agency and invest in their commercialization.
The number of products that they have been able to come up with in this center, and these are products that are of tremendous importance, to our nation. And we believe that this center will continue to make contributions to us in areas like medicine, in manufacturing, in education, in agriculture, virtually in communication, in all areas of our economy.
The National Space Research and Development Agency has successfully placed Nigeria on the global space map, and we shall not rest on our oars until we achieve the desired goals and objectives for the overall benefit of our people and indeed our great nation.
Acting Director of the Center, Dr. Bonaventure Okere, explained that the Center for Basic Space Science plays strategic role in space science development. There's no gainsaying the fact that a strong, dynamic, and sustainable basic research enterprise is a foundation for progress in space science and technology development. And the proving capacity of Nigerian scientists in this subsector is a giant stride that needs to be commended for the attainment of greater heights in space science development in Nigeria. Kirian Umayo, NTA News.
Thank you, Kirian. The International Museum Day is celebrated to raise awareness of the fact that museums are important means of cultural exchange, enrichment of cultures, and development of peace among people. Gufan Shaji reports that for the National Commission for Museum and Monuments, it is using the day to highlight the economic potentials of museums and monuments in Nigeria.
The International Museum Day is celebrated sometime in May as the National Commission for Museum and Monuments celebrates the day. It is creating awareness on the need to develop and make Nigerian tourist sites and monuments more attractive to compete globally and boost the nation's economy. Some Nigerian museums are increasingly growing into their roles as cultural hubs, finding new ways to honor their collections, histories, and legacies. They are also creating platforms that will have new meaning for generations and relevance for an increasing diverse contemporary audience at a global level. The Director General of the National Commission for Museums and Monuments sees museums offering a platform for translating its potentials to wealth for the economy and a way of preserving the rich cultural heritage of the Nigerian people, especially as this year's theme centers on museums as a cultural hub, the future of tradition.
We see that definitely if we're able to get the museums further off the ground from where we are now to a level that is internationally acclaimed, tourism development in Nigeria will very soon take its pride of place in this country and will compete favorably with income from oil and gas.
With this flag off of the 2019 International Museum Day, it is hoped that more Nigerians will be fully awakened to the vast potentials in tourism. In Abuja, Gufan Shaji, NTA News.
Sports is up next when News Extra returns after the